What is up, cool cats of the interwebs? It is your girl Haley back at it again with another episode of the pre-review crew for May and June. I have your normal gang of guys here, so let me quickly introduce them so we can get right into the mix. I have Brennan.
Hello.
Who went through a dilemma that we won't mention, and we have Mike.
What's up?
Who didn't go through a dilemma that we will mention. Anyway, we are going to kick it over quickly to the games that we previewed last month. So we are going to start it off with Dolmen. It's a action-adventure indie RPG. It was developed by Massive Work Studios, published by Prime Matter. It came out on literally everything besides the Switch, so PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Series X and S. It released on May 20th, and it has a top critic average of 57, with only 16% of critics recommending.
This one kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to get, big, amazing scores and shit, but I wasn't expecting it to do this bad. I was thinking maybe, critic average 70s, critics recommend maybe about around the 50%, but I wasn't expecting a 57 and a 16%.
Yeah, this one's like really surprising because we spoke highly of this game and how it looks really fucking cool. So to know that it has literally flopped and deserves to be in probably one of the worst games of this year is very, very sad.
It is surprising, but at the same time, I feel like because it is it's trying really hard to be a Souls-like, right? And that can go one of two ways. You can go the I forget what that one game was called, Mortal Shell, where you take the formula, and you kind of do something cool with it, like something unique, and then there's like something like, I think it's the Surge or something. I think that's like what the high-tech Souls-like game is called. I could be wrong about that. Please correct me. Where it's just like almost a carbon copy. At least the first one was. I can't talk about the second one, but the first one was kind of like a carbon copy and doesn't really do much other than just added skin on top. So I was kind of bummed that this didn't really score well, but reading what everyone says, Jason Rodriguez from PC Invasion says clunky combat, boring progression, bare bones plot, unrewarding exploration, and laughably bad healing mechanic. All of that sounds terrible. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's awful. I don't want to play this anymore.
Like, at that point, it's honestly like, who let this go this far? Like, who said, okay, hey, guess what? Our game's done. Green light, let's put it out there for everyone to buy. Like, whoever said that needs to rethink their life choices and definitely rewind time on this one and go, maybe we should wait.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, from all of that, the clunky combat, I don't know. That's like, to me, that's a ground up execution. Like, if you've got clunky combat, to me that means you've got to scrap the whole thing. I don't know how you take a pre-existing combat system and make it not as clunky. Again, without having played it, I can't really give any suggestions on how to make it feel any better. Boring progression, again, that is a ground up system that you have to take out, because that's not just one section of the game. That's your progression from the beginning to the end. You have to scrap that. A plot, you don't necessarily have to have a great plot in terms of Souls-likes, in my opinion. I think we got kind of spoiled with FromSoft's approach to non-linear storytelling. But on the first pass through of the Souls games, most people do not give a complete shit about the plot. They don't even know what's going on, to be honest. You get the little intro cutscene in the beginning and then whatever. Unrewarding exploration, again, that can be fixed. And I don't know how you'd fix it, but it could be fixed in post. And then a laughably bad healing mechanic, that could also, I feel like, be fixed post. So it seems like a mix of both. You gotta redo the whole thing, buddy, and then you can clear up some parts here and there. But I don't know.
I I'm looking, or like I watched some gameplay of this. Honestly, it looks like a PS4, like an early PS4 era game that they just didn't want to give up on.
Okay.
Like that's just the vibe that it's giving me.
I'm also, when I read the reviews, they said that there's very few original ideas in this game. And I don't think every game needs to innovate. I don't think every game needs to have all these crazy original ideas. But when you're going into a genre that is at the moment getting saturated, you need to have something that's different to really pull yourself out of that pack.
That's like super disappointing that this game doesn't have something, because from all the trailers and everything, it visually looked like it was going to be really, really cool. So I was sort of like excited to at least have some really good visuals, but still looking at the game, it doesn't add up to everything that I thought it was.
I feel like
I was gonna say, especially with Elden Ring coming out a couple months ago, that kind of
yeah.
this had to come out in its shadow, and because they didn't do anything unique with it, everybody's just gonna be like, I'd rather get Elden Ring.
Honestly, I mean, yeah, and at this stage in the game, just go play Elden Ring instead. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's just funny to me that everyone is saying that unironically, at least I think unironically, that a lot of people are saying that this is a very quote soulless, soul-like game, which is kind of funny. Wordplay, right?
Like, I feel like if you're going to try to do a soul-like game, then you really need to step it up. You really need to bring your A game, because the soul games are, like a sky high point for that genre. So if you're not going to bring it all to the table, then there's no point in saying that you are a Souls-like game.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. I feel like maybe, again, I think it's called The Surge, but at least with that game, the first one felt very, at least in my opinion, it felt very soulless. But I've heard pretty decent things about the improvements made to the second one. So the only optimism that I can share with this game is that the sequel may be able to sort of build upon the foundation of the failure that is Dolmen at the moment, which is unfortunate, but it's not like it's completely lost, right? Like, there are bits of this that I think are kind of okay. And I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it's a little cliche to say that it's a bit derivative, but it may be too derivative at this moment in time. If they do stuff to expand upon it, build on the foundation, however they can do that, mind you, I have no suggestions there. But if they can, kudos to them.
I feel like they're probably just better off taking all the constructive criticism and any good points that people pointed out from this game, and then just making a whole new game and just leaving this behind. But
yeah, no, I agree.
You don't want your legacy to be literally a pile of dog poop. And talking about dog poop, which we apparently have a lot for the month of May, we're going to talk about, somebody help me out with the pronunciation. Mike, you're good at that.
You did.
There we go. Chronicle Rising. It's an action adventure indie RPG. It's developed by Natsume Atari and published by 505 Games. It came out literally again on everything besides the Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X, S, and PC. This one released on May 10th, and it has a top critic average of 72, so more people like it, but only half of the critics are recommending at 51%.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I expected it to score like this. I like cheesy JRPGs and whatnot, so like for me, this is my kind of camp. But I understand a lot of people don't like that kind of thing. So these kinds of games, I expect to hit, on average 7 out of 10s.
I mean, scrolling through these lists really quick, let's just at a glance, you can see a lot of 7, 6.5s. You do have people that definitely don't like it, and you do have people that really do like it. 90s, 9s out of 10s.
Yeah.
So I think to Mike's point, it really is one of those niche kind of games where you either really like it or you don't. And then there's everyone else in the middle of just being like, it's fine. Some complaints people are saying is that it's just rather grindy, which again, is a good or bad thing, right? If the progression warrants a grindy system, then by all means. But if there's nothing to gain from that, then it's just unnecessary grinding. So, sort of subjective there. Yeah, I don't. It still looks cool, and like the scores aside, I still want to give this one a try, just because of. I feel like I haven't personally played anything in this vein at all, actually. And if I have, it's been a long time. So the people that really, really like it, though, they give me a little bit hope that maybe I would fall into that camp, right? Like, if there are people that actually genuinely like everything there is to offer, who's to say that you may not be one of those people, right?
Yeah.
So all hope is not lost with this one. But I can see where Mike's hesitancy with the scoring can come from.
I'd like to say I just make a mistake, which I rarely do. This game did come out for the Nintendo Switch.
Wow, that's it's like a $15 surcharge.
Don't worry, folks. Haley would be punished accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ouch. My feelings.
50 lashes right off the eyebrow. Eyelid?
This is the reason why I'm not allowed to have anything nice.
No, you're not. No, actually, you know what? No, I'll take the $15 surcharge, and I will I'll convert that to us buying an airship in Dungeons and Dragons. How about that?
God damn it, why did I ever fuck up? Anyway, I don't really have much to say about this game because it's honestly just not my type of game, but it's interesting to see a lot of people split on it. You rarely see people split on games, so I think it's funny that it's right down the middle.
That's how these kinds of games do.
Well, talk about split down the middle. We have another one, and Brennan hates it, but it's our best scoring game for this month. Give it up to the interactive video game, the Sentinel Case, Shinojima Case. Its genre is adventure. It's published and developed by Square Enix. It came out on PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. Came out on May 12th. It has a top critic average of 75, with 58% of critics recommending. The word percent is just not in my vocabulary.
It's been raised very astutely. First off, it's called the Centennial Case.
My bad. I'm so sorry.
A Shijima story.
Yeah,
a Shijima story.
Listen here.
Yeah.
Did you copy that from the other thing, or did you rewrite it?
Oh yeah. Okay, never mind. Okay. I don't take back the pronunciation surcharge. I do take back the misspelling title in the Google Doc.
Okay,
surcharge.
So if you rewrote this, that means you also have to take back the leaving out of the Nintendo Switch, because that was your fault.
That is also my fault. So it's two strikes against Brandon, 1 strike against Haley for not knowing how to pronounce Centennial.
Sorry, I was just speed reading my brain.
Okay, so this one, a lot of people are saying this. There was one quote that I read that succinctly just puts this all into perspective, and I cannot find it. Okay, here we go. This is from Chris Shiv from Hardcore Gamer. Quote, in the history of gaming, there have been experiences where everything about the game is fantastic except for the actual gameplay. So, my point still stands.
Here we go.
The plot may have been good in this one. All power to that. Okay, it's difficult to pull off. Sure, a lot of people are praising its plot and how it's like actually engaging as a murder mystery case. Totally cool. I'm a sucker for those. Awesome. But everyone's taking points off the fact that there is no gameplay, because it's not a game. It's a movie that you can click things.
It's an interactive video game.
It's not Telltale. It's not. You can't even tell. You can't tell me with a straight face that this is on the same playing field as any game that Telltale's ever come out. It's interactive, my ass. Okay. And besides, it's not even a new thing. You know how many point and click games we've had in the past, like 30, 40 years that are actually good? Yeah, lots. This doesn't even stack up to any of that. It's fine for the moment here. I'm just upset that this is the game that somehow the highest scoring that we talked about last month. I'm mind blown, flabbergasted, if you will.
I thought this game was gonna do terrible.
It's a live action, literally.
I thought this game was gonna do terrible.
Yeah, put it on Netflix, okay? Put it on Netflix with that Black Mirror shit, and it's the same thing.
Netflix done that kind of shit before?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have. But yeah, so why is this on? Why is this on Steam?
Games like this have been made for years. Like, I referenced an old horror game that Dan's Gaming did for his horror month, I think last year, that honestly was pretty fucking good.
Fine. Like, when you say good, do you mean the story was engaging or the gameplay was good? Because those are two completely different ball games here.
I mean, the gameplay, I didn't play this game, so I can't tell you how the gameplay is. But the gameplay in the other game is literally just picking different directions and picking places to go. And you have to actually listen to the audio to see if the guy is walking to your door or not, to make sure that you're safe. Because if you go out, he'll then chase you, and then that's when you have to start clicking directions to go. So
what's up, no, sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say, maybe that's not, I mean, I would consider that gameplay. So yes, it's simple, but in that game at least, it's very audio based.
You know what's an actual good murder mystery case game that has actual gameplay? Persona 4.
Oh my god.
Done. Roasted.
Oh my god.
Microphone dropped.
Anyway. So Mike, you got something to add?
Like I said, I didn't expect it to do this good. Because these games, usually I play a lot of graphic novels and stuff like that. And, a lot of them do have, nice engaging stories. And it looks like that's what this has, is, it's got the mystery, it's got the story. And it is unique in that it's using the live action, which I think I'm seeing more of these days, because that used to be a really rare thing. But like, I'm reading that, while it has its pluses, it's got things like it stumbles, at certain points that, some people do say that there isn't enough interaction. That's more like watching, a murder mystery than it is actually playing a true video game.
I mean, how is this? No, this is a genuine question. How would you say that this is different from a visual novel besides it being live action? Or is it being live action the reason why we're saying that we don't like this game?
No, for me, this is a visual novel. It's just the problem with some visual novels is there's not enough player interaction. I've played some where I'm basically just clicking through dialogue trees the whole damn time. There's really nothing to do. There's really nothing to, there's no branching. There's no, true actual gameplay. It's just you clicking the A button to get through dialogue. And I'm seeing that this kind of the problem this game has. It's a visual novel and it's got a great story, but it's not as, it's not as interactive as some visual novels can be.
So, would we say that for things like this to be considered a video game, it has to be more interactive than just picking dialogue options? Like, is just the category of only picking dialogue options, should that not be considered a video game, and should that be considered something else completely?
We consider it a video game. We just got to remember it's not a very interactive video game. It's not going to be one where you're going to be sitting there, inputting shit, left and right, like we expect most video games to. But it's just a very low, what do you call it? A low, there's really not much interaction. it's like Brent said, it was kind of like what's the Netflix one you guys said earlier?
It's Black Mirror.
Yeah, this is like just a tiny bit above Black Mirror, just enough to be a video game, but at the same time, it's a visual novel that people need to understand. You're not going to be having, a lot of well, maybe there is action, but you're not going to have like a lot of player interaction action going on.
Which is totally well and fine. Like, I don't want to knock this. Like, seriously for a second though. Like, I'm not knocking this as a video game. As Mike said, I feel like the subcategory of visual novel is very apt. But then even within the visual novel sphere, you have, and again, I'm only speculating because I don't really play these kinds of games, but you have stuff where it is, like Mike said, just clicking through dialogue. Something maybe like Doki Doki Literature Club. Again, I haven't played it. I don't know how interactive that is. But the first like 20 minutes that I've watched someone else play through it, they're just clicking through the dialogue and it's not Telltale where like there's a puzzle and you have to solve it. Akin to something like the audio-based puzzles that Haley was mentioning before with the other game that she watched from Dan Plays. But it's fine. Like, it's okay. It's great and all. I'm not knocking the plot at all. People are saying this plot is actually very interesting and very engaging. So kudos. It's not the easiest thing to do. But on the flip side, I just want to call this Super Seducer 3 Mystery Boogaloo and call it a day. Which it's not, but I just like pulling Haley's leg.
You heard it here first. Brennan hates all things that can be considered an interactive film or video game. Anyway, let's kick it off to the month of June. So upcoming, we have a game called Silt. It's a single player puzzle action adventure horror game. My bad. It's developed by Spiral Circus and published by Fireshine Games. It's coming out on PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. I think this is our first game that's only coming out on X and not on S as well. Actually, it should be coming out on S as well.
It is coming out on the Series S as well. Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't differentiate that in the doc because
put another tally on Brennan. And it's
the same thing.
It's releasing on June 1st. So let's talk over Brennan so we don't have to hear him complain and basically cry. But the game looks real fucking cool.
Yeah, so me and Haley were talking about this as we were getting ready to record. And like I was telling her, like, it looks like Limbo but underwater. Like, you have very little light as because for those who don't know, this is like you're a diver and you're deep underwater where there's very little light. And Limbo, you have like the monster chasing you like the spider, and that's what this had. You had to keep moving, following a light as stuff chased you, and it looked like you make one wrong move, you fuck up, and you die. And the art style for this though is just beautiful. Like, I loved the way this game looked.
This does give me huge Limbo vibes, which is a great thing, honestly. I loved Limbo. I think the coolest thing about this game is the fact that we're looking at a blog post from the developers at Spiral Circus via PlayStation.com, but they explain how they bring a lot of the concept art for the game and then implement that in the same game. And it looks not identical, but it looks fairly similar. Like, there are just scans of artwork that have been put into this game, and it's unreal how good it looks. And the reason that it does look good is because someone sat down and hand drew the whole thing, which is insane and also probably very difficult to implement, which I believe they go over in this blog post. But right off the bat, it is so visually engaging that it is hard to not pay attention to, in my opinion. I think that saying this is Limbo underwater is a bit reductive to what this game is, but it's the easiest thing to explain to other people with this is, oh, it's just Limbo underwater. Okay, cool, sold. You know what I mean? Big fan. I feel like my mom would really like this game.
I saw this because honestly, I didn't think there was a lot of really good games coming out for the month of June, and this just looked interesting. For me, it actually reminded me of the game We Go Deeper, a little bit with the art style, but We Go Deeper is colorful and this is in black and white. But it just looked interesting. I thought the underwater atmosphere was really cool. It's in black and white. It has a more what I would say gothic art style to it. There's a lot of sharp edges. There's not fun and frilly creatures. So I thought that was really cool. And everything's underwater, which I don't understand. Like, what is the whole story to this? Because in some screenshots you see cities and statues. So I'm just like, what is the full background to this game?
Yeah, that's actually something I'm curious about as well. It's just, why are you so deep underwater? Why is there, like you said, like architecture down there, and why are you being chased the way you're being chased? Um, that's really, and I think that's part of the appeal to this is like you're gonna want to know why. There's a lot of whys, and you're gonna want to really dig into that to like really explore the story behind this game.
Yeah, and another thing is it looks like it's literally just you. There's no dialogue, there's no other people. It's you in a diver suit underwater doing puzzles. Who
Really,
are
really
you?
good. Like really good. I hope that this becomes, our limbo of today. And I hate to keep comparing the two. The only reason I'm doing it is just because they look similar. But I am not knocking that. Like that is they pull it off on their own way. And to hit the gothic point, absolutely does it look gothic. It almost looks a bit Lovecraftian. Like maybe that's just me projecting my Lovecraftian, fetish almost. But
Not see that.
if there's some sort of Cthulhu monster at the bottom of all this, I'd be a happy camper. That's all I'm gonna say. You say underwater city, I don't go to Atlantis. I think of the unpronounceable name in which Cthulhu sleeps. Rely. I don't speak
Yeah, I don't remember.
Lovecraft, but yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm not gonna lie. I hope the scores well. I really do.
I'm gonna give a slight spoiler because I'm watching somebody's like 15-minute gameplay video. It looks like with your light, you can actually use it on the sea creatures that are around you. So whatever is
Yes,
giving you life, you can also give a little of it to the sea creatures and make them do things for you.
I did see something like that in one of the trailers that I watched. Which, again, I guess my only critique would be like, or my only hesitancy would be like, there's probably a lot of puzzles in this, right? So the puzzles have to be good. They have to be satisfying. They have to be slightly challenging. And I don't know, this is cool, especially if it's light based or interacting with different creatures in certain ways. Because again, that's what Limbo was. Limbo was you interacting with your environment to traverse the area however you can, whether it's I don't even remember. There's so much that goes on in Limbo, especially in like the first half an hour. Um, all I remember is like the traps, getting the traps, trick the spider, a lot of just moving levers up and down in certain areas once you get to like the more underground mechanical area. The puzzles here have to be really good. And looking at it so far, with Haley mentioned with the light shifting, beautiful. I think this is a good setup. I think this may be a home run. Hopefully. There's a lot that could go wrong here, And I don't even want to say there's a lot that could go wrong here because that's speculating way too much.
Well,
I think it's cool.
coming off of May, we've realized that having high hopes for some things can definitely get shot down. So let's roll into a game that I feel like everyone just has high hopes for just because of what it is. So we're going to talk about Mario Strikers Battle League. It's a single player multiplayer sports game. Its developer is Next Level Games and it's published by, of course, Nintendo. It's coming out on the Switch and it comes out 9 days after Silt does on June 10th.
Yeah, this is it's a I mean, I'm gonna put it simply. It's a Mario sports game. You know, they do what they usually do. They take a certain sport and they just do like a Mario twist on it. I was watching a lot of gameplay of this, and it's like it's very physical. You can tackle the shit out of the other team. There's items that can just tear your opponent apart. You can build your character stats. There was like watching them put on like cool types of armor. It's like I said, it's Mario, but they put like their own Nintendo spin on the whole thing.
So is this like Rugby Mario?
Kind of, it's
Or
still
soccer?
it's soccer, but it is a little more it's a little more of a intense type of soccer, for lack of a better word.
Very aggressive. Like
Yeah.
like there's no fouls, right? Like in normal soccer, if you kick the ball out of the field, there's a foul. Here, there's an electric fence surrounding the whole arena. So if you, let's say, get tackled by the enemy team into the fence, little Mario's gonna have a little shock, right? And there is like full on tackling. Like you could tackle your teammates into other people to steal the ball or to push them further. It seems very tactical, which I kind of like. I was afraid that this. I've never played the first one. I need to be very clear my preceding sentence, but I was afraid that this is going to be very vanilla, like an arcadey sort of soccer, which it is. But this is arcadey soccer amped up to 11, from what I've seen.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
I also saw that Bowser uses his hand for one of his. He like puts the ball in his hand and then he does this like power up and blasts it. So, and you can throw the ball. I just saw Luigi throw the ball. So, very much soccer and rugby combined, except you're predominantly using your feet to move the ball, but you can throw it. You just don't carry it.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's a la Mario Tennis, because I haven't played golf, but there are like super moves that you can do. So I assume that maybe a lot of those like hand play moments come from the super moves, possibly, which are super cool, super well animated, right? Like I feel like the art style for these games have always been really cool. And I mean, when I say that, I mean like cover art. I don't know, the cover art for these games just feels very electric. I don't know how else to explain it, and I feel like that gives a good representation of the kind of intensity that they're trying to get across with these games. Which
I love the cover art. It's like explosions everywhere. You got a toad just flying through the air.
I think the one thing that's like really cool is that the visuals of the stadium, one side is for one team, the other side is for the other team, and they're two different, like from two different worlds put into one. So
yeah,
just simple stuff like that I think is really cool.
It's really cool. They like smash together in the beginning or something, like, and they just form a new one. It looks really cool. Just a visually very engaging. I'm a big fan of how this all works. And there's a demo, which I want to try, actually.
I think it will be really cool to see if this gets sort of like a mini esports following, if it turns into one. I think that would be very interesting.
It could. I'm not too familiar with the past two Mario Striker games, but I imagine, like most Nintendo games, there is probably a small subsection of esport fanatics that will cling to this very quickly. Part of me wants to say, if people are still playing Melee, part of me wants to say there's probably, albeit a smaller group of people, still playing Super Mario Strikers for GameCube, right? Like, these games don't, and especially Nintendo, I feel like the quality doesn't, you can go back like 20, 10 years and it's still quality shit, especially compared to what it is today. Like, they maintain a very strong foundation and then just build upon it in ways that we wouldn't even really think of. Like, who thinks of adding different cosmetic items that change stats to a soccer game? It's not. When I first heard of that, I was like, that's kind of strange. But then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty interesting. I feel like that's not a normal thing. You really can't go wrong with Mario Sports game. I don't. it's like pizza, right? Even when it's bad, it's still pretty good. So, yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, I want to try out this demo.
According to Brennan, Nintendo is 2010 years old. You heard it here first. Nintendo is literally the creation of everything. But we're going to move on to what was also around during Nintendo's era of reigning the world, monsters in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Its genre is single-player multiplayer ARPG. It's developed and published by Capcom. It's coming out on PC and the Nintendo Switch, and it's releasing on June 30th. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is either an expansion or DLC.
Yes. Really quick, I'm going to spiel all over this because I have not been more excited for an expansion of any kind for a long time. Last one I was excited for was Monster Hunter World Iceborne. And what they did with Iceborne, in my opinion, was very good, to say the absolute least. But yes, this is an expansion to Monster Hunter Rise. It's coming out on both PC and the Switch. Your man literally just rebought Monster Hunter World on PC just to play this. I usually don't like double dipping, but Monster Hunter is one of the few franchises in which I will. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's just more Monster Hunter. Okay, very baseline, but there's a lot of small things that they like to add. So I'm too excited. Not only are they adding two of my favorite boys, Seregios and Astalos, which they're both just super cool. I don't know how else to explain that. They're adding a multitude of stronger versions of previous monsters, like the Somnicanth, which I'm not really a big fan of, but this new Aurora subclass might be kind of cool. At the end of the day, even if you don't like the original monster, the variants usually add some kind of oomph to the overall combat experience. What I really like is how they're adding new switch skills and silkbind skills, which are I don't even know how to explain it. It's like resource based skills that you can sort of add. I don't really know how to explain it in a shorter amount of time, but they're adding a lot more skills for all weapons, some clearly better than others. Seeing a lot of people on Reddit just being upset that the longsword is just getting way too much love from Capcom, which I understand, but as a longsword user, I'm loving it. So whatever. But the cool thing is that these switch skills can now be switched on the fly. So not only are you limited to 2 skills per run now, you can have, I believe it's up to like 4, maybe, or if you just switch a whole set, it's technically 6. Regardless, you can now switch skills on the fly in a hunt, which means how you play your weapon has now changed, and it can change within the hunt itself, which I'm a big fan of. Some of them are very situational, so to be able to switch when you want is a godsend to me personally. I really I feel like I could just go on and on and on, but I'm just excited for more Monster Hunter, right? Like the small changes that they make with each expansion, looking at it, they are small, but they all add up, and it makes the experience more than the sum of its parts, in my personal opinion. I thought Iceborne was a quality expansion, so I'm only hoping that Sunbreak is just as quality of an expansion, if not more. Also, if you like to play solo, but you feel very lonely, you can now introduce new followers, NPCs to your hunt to make it a bit more lively, which I like. It's always cool. Some of them are really, really difficult, especially on the higher levels when you're by yourself. The game is sort of geared to be played with friends. So to give the illusion of having friends is wonderful. Can't really knock that at all. The only thing that I want, though, really quick before I'm done, is I want a complete overhaul of the talisman system. Right now, it is far too RNG based. They need to do something with this end game, and I am hoping that they will because Iceborne completely put the end game for Monster Hunter World on its head and just made it essentially infinitely replayable, and for good reason. So I'm hoping that they do some kind of end game overhaul here as well, because base Rise was kind of lackluster once you get to the very end. You're like, okay, there's nothing really more for me to do here. I want there to be an amp to the replay value. Okay, I'm done. That was my 10-minute spiel. I'm done.
Mike, do you have anything to add?
Well, like Brent said, it's more Monster Hunter. I mean, at the end of the day, Monster Hunter fans, what do you want? You want more Monster Hunter, I think it is cool that they are adding like the Switch scalability. I don't monsters from watching trailers and gameplay, but some of the new stuff that they were showing when I was watching videos on this, it looks really cool. I'm not a big Monster Hunter fan myself, but just what they were showing off made me think like, maybe I should get into Monster Hunter.
Do it. I'll play with you. 1000%. I love playing Monster Hunter. You have no idea. It is one of my favorite games. And I'm very new to the series too. I kind of want to, I started with the World bandwagon. I went back and played some of the earlier ones. And Rise, to me at least, feels like a solid combination of old and new. It's hard for me to explain in a short amount of time, but I really do like Rise. I think that they're taking Monster Hunter in a new direction, which is, they're not just doing the same thing over and over. I mean, they are for good reason because the foundation was solid, but they're making enough little changes to each experience, each expansion, each game that make it its own thing. Like Iceborne is very different than Base World. So I'm only hoping that Sunbreak is very different compared to Base Rise. That being said, though, just play Monster Hunter. It's like one of the best things ever. It's go in a group. It's go by yourself. It's good time killer. You feel really good about yourself once you like fight a monster that's been giving you trouble, and you finally beat it and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm the best. Like, not many games give you that experience, especially with a big group of people. And I feel like that's why people flock to games like, any FromSoft game, right? Monster Hunter is just boss rush the game. I fucking love it, dude, so much. I can't wait. June 30th can't come fast enough, I swear.
Brennan is literally super excited that he probably has this pre-ordered on Switch and PC.
I'm only buying one. Sorry, Switch. I'm gonna throw it to the PC. It's 60 frames per second. What was I doing on the Switch? Honestly, playing Monster Hunter and not 60 frames is really difficult. Like, there's so much stuff that goes on the screen at once that I swear one frame will make or break you sometimes. It's unreal. Playing it on PC in 60 frames with like this cool depth of field kind of filter that they have on top. Absolutely beautiful.
You good, Brennan? You good?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Okay, sorry. I get one time a month to get excited about something. Okay, let me have my moment.
Brennan acts as if we don't talk about video games 24/7.
True.
We literally talk about it all the time. Anyway, here's some this episode is honestly very short, so here's some tidbit too long didn't read, now you know information. Apparently Xbox turned down Marvel, leading to Spider-Man being developed on the PlayStation. This is an article from Video Game Chronicles by Chris Scullion, who says that an excerpt from Stephen L. Kent's 2021 book, The Ultimate History of Video Games, Volume 2, Executive Vice President and Head of Marvel Games, Jay Ong, explained how the company cut its earlier deal with Activision short in search of a better partnership. So, pretty interesting. The Marvel games then went on to both Xbox and PlayStation to see if either of them would be interested in forming an exclusive partnership, asking them, "We don't have any big console deals with anyone right now. What would you like to do?" Microsoft's strategy was to focus on its own IP and as such declined the offer. The guy went on to sit down with the two execs from PlayStation third party in a conference room in Burbank. He said, we have a dream that is possible, that we would like to beat Arkham and have one game at least, and maybe multiple games that could drive adoption to your platform." So guess what? Sony picked it up.
I'm not gonna lie. That is free money that Xbox turned down. One of the only reasons that I bought a PlayStation 4 was to play Spider-Man. So that pretty much tells you everything. I would have been playing an Xbox right now if they had actually gone through with that.
The article goes on to say Sony reportedly responded by offering to make a AAA PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man game, handed the project to Insomniac, which was independent at the time, but was considered one of Sony's most important partners. This resulted in Marvel Spider-Man, which was critically acclaimed and reported to sell more than 20 million copies, with its spin-off of Miles Morales selling a further 6.5. In the US, Spider-Man is one of Sony's most successful video games ever in terms of dollar sales. And then Insomniac has gone on to announce Spider-Man 2, which was teased last year in September. It's also expanding its relationship with Marvel via an in-development Wolverine game. The Spider-Man sequel is due out on PlayStation 5 in 2023 with Candyman actor Tony Todd playing Venom. Very, very cool.
Yeah, I was always curious why it was a PlayStation exclusive. And at the same time, this is like Microsoft could have made so much money, especially like with Wolverine. That's one game that I'm looking forward to. And yeah, Microsoft is missing out. You know, just as much money as it made on PlayStation, I can imagine. Microsoft could have gotten a good chunk of that pie.
What year did they say this happened? Okay, I don't know when Spider-Man came out. Okay, it says 2014. So this was sort of like right around the time that, Marvel was hype. Marvel was the shit.
It's
why? Why would they?
I'm so confused. I don't know. Marvel. It's not like Marvel's just been, even then at 2014. It was just Marvel's been popular for the past I don't know, 15 years at this point. 2008, 2009? First Iron Man?
I'm going to list all the Marvel movies that were out. By the time they had an interview, they sat down with Sony and PlayStation. Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk. All these are in order, by the way. Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America the First Avenger, Marvel's The Revengers. Iron Man 3, Thor, The Dark World, Captain America Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy, and we'll stop it at Avengers Age of Ultron. The hype was there.
Yeah. Like I said, they turned down free money. That's that's obscene.
It was literally there. Now the hype for I admit the hype for Spider-Man wasn't there. We don't get Spider-Man Far From Home until 2019. But still, the hype for just Avengers was there.
Yeah, I wonder. But the thing is, though, is that what was it? It was Insomniac. Right? It's Insomniac that did Spider-Man. Yeah. So what I don't. Man, I'm just trying to visualize this timeline here, and it's just not adding up. Because it's not like Spider-Man was a launch title or anything, so that wouldn't really have dissuaded too many people at that point. But moving forward, I don't know. I can't imagine why they would have done that.
Sure, Phil Spencer's kicking himself in the ass right now.
Yeah, probably.
My only guess is that I feel like they felt like this just wasn't a title for them. I would argue that Xbox isn't known for very story heavy driven games. So I feel like they passed on this because it just doesn't align with the type of games that they put out. I feel like if Xbox did put this out, it would have been more heavy on the combat, less on the actual storytelling.
All I'm gonna say is I have to go drink a big old can of gamer juice to get over this one.
Got
a
it.
whole
So,
six-pack.
Yeah.
while
whole
Brennan
six-pack
is
of gamer
drinking
juice.
his gamer juice, literally because Amazon just dropped off the package for him, we are going to cut the episode just a tad bit short. So this is the end of the pre-review crew episode for May/June. Come back next month to see if the games that we talked about for the month of June held up to what we said, and to review the critic scores, and then see what we talk about for the month of July. Also, whatever press conferences are going on, we'll definitely have to talk about those as well, because it's the summertime and everybody has a conference during the summer. It is your girl Haley signing off. I hope you have a great day, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. See us back here next month. Goodbye.
Bye.
I love you.
He does not.